Hello and welcome to this second look exploring session, returning to the trial of treasure, which we looked at over a year ago, I think, off the top of my head. It is a play that we are going to be looking at pace today. Last time we stopped and started. Yes, we're going to be attacking the trial of treasure at pace, without stopping, and seeing what comes out at the other end. Reading today, as we're also following the doubling scheme on the script. This sometimes goes horribly, horribly wrong, but in theory this play can be done with 5 people. So, reading Elation, Trust and Treasure is...
Hello, Lynsey Beauchamp, actor in Gloucestershire at the moment.
Reading the preface, Just, Pleasure and Greedy Gut is...
Me, Rachael Nicole, actor in New Jersey.
Reading Lust, Sapience and Consolation is...
Liza Graham, typecast again.
And reading Sturdiness, Contentation, Visitation and Time is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I think my stopwatch, well, not stopwatch, my clock has stopped, I think, but I'm not entirely sure.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading Inclination. I wasn't down to be reading Inclination, but it turns out that I am doing so, unless, hopefully, the absent Inclination appears, in which case I will hand over the reins of Inclination to somebody else who is more inclined to be Inclination. So, without further ado, we're going to dive into the text. We're not going to stop. We're going to give it some welly, but we're not going to be switching cameras on and off. We're not going to be going full performance with it. Hopefully, we will return anon to do that. So, without further ado, over to the first speaker, the prefix, to introduce the text.
Diogenes, which used a barrel for his house, being fled from his father to the city of Athens, comforted himself much in beholding the mouse, which desired neither castle nor hold for her defense. Concerning sustentation, she made no difference, but ate whatsoever to her did befall, and touching her apparel she had least care of all. This poor mouse's property, noted Diogenes, which oftentimes also he would have in sight, and though he were disciple unto Antisthenes, yet he learned of the mouse as much as he might. In the science of Sophy he had great delight, but concerning his state and outward condition, the most can declare if you make inquisition. On a time he chanced, accompanied to be with Alexander, which stood between him and the sun. Which requirest thou to have, Diogenes, quoth he. Is there anything that by me may be done? I pray thee stand aside and make a little room, quoth Diogenes, that the sun upon me may shine. Naught else require I of that is thine. Ye used to say that as servants be obedient to their bodily masters, being in subjection, even so evil men that are not content are subjects and slaves to their lust and affection. This lesson unto us may be a direction which way our inclination to bridle and subdue, namely, if we labor the same to eschew. Thus see you how little this philosopher esteemed the abundant possessions of this mundane treasure, which yet, notwithstanding, at these days is deemed to be the original and fountain of pleasure. This causeth lust to reign without measure, to the which men are subjects, Diogenes doth say. Yet both lust and treasure in time weareth away. A philosopher is he that wisdom doth love, which before Pythagoras wise men were named. Now, Diogenes being wise, this doth approve that some men of this age ought as fools to be blamed, for where the one with treasure lack his life framed, the other to vie, care, and labor with greediness, the same by all means to enjoy and possess. As lust with the lusts converteth to dust, and leaveth of force his pleasure's prosperity, so treasure in time is turned to rust. as Saint James in his epistle showeth the verity. Hereof we purpose to speak without temerity, therefore our matter is named the trial of treasure, which time doth expel with all mundane pleasure. Both merry and short we purpose to be, and therefore require your pardon and patience. We trust in our matter nothing you shall see, that to the godly may give any offense. Though the style be barbarous, not fined with eloquence, yet our author desireth your gentle acceptation, and we the players likewise with all humiliation.
Hey-ho, caraway, let the world pass, for I am as lusty as ever I was. In flowers I flourish as blossoms in May. Hey-ho, caraway, hey-ho, caraway. Ah, what the devil ailed me to sing thus? I cry you mercy by my faith for entering. Most like I have ridden on the flying Pegasus, or in Cock Laurel's barge have been a-venturing. Sing? Why, I would sing, if it were to do again. With Orpheus and Amphion I went to school. What? Lads must be lively attending on the train of Lady Delectation, which is no small fool. Hey, rouse, fill up all the pots in the house. Tush, man, in good fellowship, let us be merry. Look up like a man, or is not worth a louse. Hey, ho, trolley, hey, dairy, 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 dairy. Ooh, ha, pleasant youth and lusty Juventus. In faith, it is good to be merry this May, for of man's living there is no point endentus. Therefore, little mirth is worth much sorrow, some say.
But remember ye not the wise man's sentence? It is better in the house of mourning to be than in the house of laughter where folly hath residence. For lightness with wisdom cannot agree, though many have pleasure in foolish fantasy, ensuing their inclination and lust, yet much better is the life of one that is just.
Sir, in this you seem against me to inveigh.
Nothing but reason, I think I do say.
Marry, you shall have a nightcap for making the reason. Friend, have you not a piece of stockfish to sell? I would you had a dish of buttered peason. By my faith, your communication likes me well, but I beseech you, tell me, is not your name Just?
Yes, forsooth.
And my name, thou shalt understand, is Lust. And according thereto, I am lusty, indeed. But I think thou hast drunk of Morpheus' seed. Thou goest like a dromedary, dreamy and drowsy. I hold 20 pound, the knave is lousy.
Mine apparel is not like unto thine, disguised and jagged, of sundry fashion. Howbeit, it is not gold always that doth shine, but corrupting copper of small valuation. Too horrible besides is thy operation, nothing more odious unto the just than the beastly desires of inordinate lust.
It is a shameful thing, as Cicero doth say, that a man his own acts should praise and commend. Hypocrites accustom the like day by day, checking other men when they do offend.
Yea, but it is an hard thing, saith the philosopher, for a foolish man to have his manners reprehended, and even at this day it is come so far. God grant, for his mercy, it may be amended. For tell a man friendly now of his fault, being blasphemy, pride, or vile fornication, he will be as presumptuous as Haman the halt, and repay with revenge or else defamation. Thus few men of friendly monition will bear, but stoutly persist and maintain their ill. And in noblemen's houses truly I do fear, there are too many have such forward will.
Wounds and hearts, who can abide this? Nay, you vile villain, I will dress you therefore. Your lazy bones I pretend so to bless, that you shall have small lust to prate any more.
Behold the image of incipient fools. There are not a few even now of thy property. Until you be put into poverty's schools, ye will not forsake this foolish insolence.
Nay, soft, with thee I have not made an end.
The just against lust must always contend. Therefore, I propose to wrestle with thee. Put it up. Who shall have the victory? Straightway we shall see.
When thou wilt, by his flesh I shall hold the wag! Wrestle! Arg!
I know that lust useth not little to brag.
Thou shalt find me as mighty as Samson the strong.
Yea.
Ah, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, ooh, ah, ow, eek, oh, ah, oh, oh no! Ha! Wounds and flesh, I was almost down on my back. But yet I will wrestle till my bones crack. Ooh.
The end of thy presumption now doth appear.
Yeah, do what thou canst, I will not lie here. No, by his wounds, you old doting knave. Thinkest thou that lust will be made a slave? I shall meet you in Smithfield, or else otherwhere. By his flesh and blood I will thee not forbear. Ooh.
Not of my power I do thee expel, but by the might of his spirit that dwelleth in me, inordinate to lust with the just may not dwell, and therefore may not I accompany thee.
Well, goodman just, it is no matter. But in faith I pretend not with thee to flatter, though from thy company depart I must. I shall live as much in wealthiness, I trust.
Where most wealth is and most delectation, there lust is commonly of most estimation. For whereas wealth wanteth, idleness doth slake. For where idleness is, lust parteth the stake. Thus have you seen the conflict of the just, which all good men ought to use and frequent. For horrible are the fruits of inordinate lust, which in some case resembleth Hydra the serpent, whose head being cut off, another riseth incontinent. So one of lust's cogitations being cut away, there riseth up another, yea, many, we may say. It is requisite, therefore, that every degree against this his lust both strive and contend. And though at the first he seems sturdy to be, the Lord will convince him for you in the end. Your cause unto him therefore wholly commend, laboring to avoid all inordinate lust, and to practice in life to live after the just.
I can remember since no ship was made and builded on Salisbury Plain, the same year the weathercock of Paul's caught the pip, so that Bow Bell was like much woe to sustain. I can remember, I am so old, since Paradise gates were watched by night, and when the Vulcanus was made a cuckold among the great gods, I appeared in sight. Nay, for all you smiling, I tell you true. No, ye will not know me now. Oh, the mighty on earth I do subdue. Tush! If you will give me leave, I'll tell ye how. Now, in good faith, I care not greatly, though I declare my daily increase. But then these gentlewomen will be angry. Therefore I think best to hold my peace. Nay, I beseech you, let the matter stay. For I would not for £20 come in their hands. For if there should chance to be but one Delilah, by the mass they would bind me in Samson's bands. But what mean I first with them to begin, seeing that in all men I do remain? Because that first I remained Eve within, and after her Adam, and so forth to Cain? I perceive by your looks my name you would know. Why, you are not ignorant of that, I dare say. It is I that do guide the bent of your bow, and ruleth your actions also day by day. Forsooth, I am called Natural Inclination, which bred in old Adam's fostered bones, so that I am proper to his generation. I will not away with casting of stones. I make the stoutest to bow and bend. Again, when I lust, I make men stand upright. From the lowest to the highest I do ascend, drawing them to things of natural might.
Where is the knave that so did rave?
Oh, that we could him find,
We would him make for fear to quake.
that lout of lubbish kind.
My name is Lust, and let him trust.
Then I will have redress.
For thou and I will make him fly.
Mine old friend Sturdiness.
Where is now that valiant Hercules? For all his brags, he's now run away.
Why, the guts of Goliath, it is best for his ease, for he was like the pottage to pay.
Cock's soul, what bragging knaves have we here? Come ye to convince the mightiest conqueror? It is I that before you now doth appear, which brought to confusion both Hector and Alexander. Look on this leg, ye prating slaves. I remember since it was no greater than a tree. At that time I had a couple of knaves, much like unto you, that waited on me.
Cock's precious soul, let us conquer the knave.
By his flesh and sides, a good courage I have. Stand you therefore a little aside, and ye shall see me quickly abate the fool's pride.
Oh, nay, I dare not, if thou look so big. What, should such a boar fight with a pig? Put up thy sword, man. We will agree. So, lo, do so much as bear that for me.
Nay, by his heart then I will you dress.
Be good in thine office, gentle friend, Sturdiness. For though thou and I do seem to contend, yet we are and must be friends to the end.
Come, give me thy hand, I beshrew thy heart.
Nay, you must take all things in good part. Who standeth yonder? Captain Lust?
Yea, marry.
No remedy then, to them go I must. You have forgot, I dare say, your old friend Inclination, but let us renew acquaintance again for Cock's passion.
Why, man, our acquaintance hath been of old. I am yours at commandment, therefore be bold. For lust can do nothing without inclination, chiefly in matters concerning a pleasant vocation.
Indeed, lust may be taken for a thing indifferent, except inclination be joined thereunto. But when that I once have revealed my intent, as I will men to work, so commonly they do.
Ye have heard of the combat between me and Just.
Yea, marry, I heard say that you lay in the dust.
What say ye?
Neither one word nor other you may me trust.
Of mine honesty, my company he utterly refused, And in wrestling with me, he gave me the foil, saying that I had myself and other abused, leading men in perplexity and marvelous toil.
By Gog's wounds, if we had found him here, we should by his flesh have abated his cheer.
Oh, I perceive, Sturdiness, thou art no fool. Tell me, a fellowship, where wentest thou to school?
What, to read or write?
Nay, to swear and fight, for I think thou canst neither write, read, nor spell, but in swearing and fighting thou dost excel.
Thou knowest that I am joined with lust, and sturdy by nature, I am in like case. What, let the world wag? All cannot be just, some must natural sturdiness, and some must natural inclination embrace.
All men just. No, I remember the sentence of Tully, that no man is just that feared death, poverty, or pain, which I do fear all, and that marvelously. For fortune is variable, I do perceive plain, and notwithstanding that Felix possessed great gain, yet when Paul preached of the judgment day, he trembled for fear and bade him go away.
Doth such passions often trouble your mind?
Nay, not often, but sometime I do them find. But then, to the intent to drive them away, I either go to sleep or else to some play.
My Gog's precious heart, even so do I. But sometime they cumber me pestilently.
Well, Master Lust, such dumps to eschew, my advice and request you must needs ensue. That is, to become disciple to Dr. Epicurus, and then you shall have mirth by measure and overplus. Tush, I know a couple companions in store that were marvellous meat for you evermore. I wish you were known, you unto them.
Well then, call them in.
Oh, here they come, each of them in a knave's skin.
With lust to live is our delight,
In high estate and dignity,
seeing that the just put us to fight.
let them alone in misery.
Nay, they be lusty lads, I tell you.
What inclination! Methought I did smell thee. Give me thy hand ere we further go.
Ah, now, welcome in faith, and greedy gut also. But, sirs, are none of you both acquainted with lust?
Yea, that they have been, both of them, I trust. Welcome, sirs, in faith, welcome unto me.
By my troth, I am glad your mastership to see in health and prosperity as presently you be.
Pompey, so am I, wot all my heart.
This cow-bellied knave doth come from the cart. I'se teach you to speak, I hold you a pound. Churchy, lob, churchy, down to the ground.
Jake can make churchy well enow.
Oh, lower, old knave, or I'll make ye to bow. The great-bellied lout, methink, cannot bend. Yes, all so low he beginneth to amend.
Well, sirs, now I remember Aesop's advice which he gave to the Samians against King Croesus. Therefore it is good to be witty and wise. And being in liberty to keep me still thus, I cannot abide a life that is dolorous. And, seeing that my name is properly Lust, I hate the conversation of the just.
Well, Master Lust, first join you to me Inclination. Next here with Sturdiness you must you acquaint. Turn you about and embrace Elation, and that wealth may increase without any restraint. Join you with Greedy Gut here in our presence, that all these in you may have prosperous influence.
Ooh! Ah! Out! Alas, what a sudden passion is this! I am so taken that I cannot stand. The cramp has touched me, I wis. I shall die without remedy now out of hand.
By my maton's cheese, our master is sick.
Stand back, Nicole Noddy, with the pudding prick. More brains in thy skin than wit in thy brain. Such greedy gut in faith would be flain. This cramp doth signify nothing in effect. None of all your counsels he will now reject, and therefore fear not to make full declaration, but how he is bowed by me, Inclination.
And fear not the force of these that be just, but labour yourself to advance and augment. Be jocund and lively, sith your name is Lust, and then you shall easily obtain your intent.
Esteem yourself always equal with the best, and seek for promotion, power, and dignity. It is good when men may live as they lust, and unto the just bear hate and malignity.
O sir, ye must be greedy to catch and to claw.
Well said, greedy gut, as wise as a door.
Eat up at a mouthful, houses and lands.
Oh, there's a vengeable mouth to...
Never fear God, nor the law, nor the governor's law, but gripe greedily all that cometh in your hands. By the mass, but Hugh Howlet is pestilent witty, what guttish greediness the whoreson can teach. That thou art not erected in faith, it is a pity, as high as 3 trees in a halter will reach.
Marry, sirs, but your counsels have set me on fire. Oh, hey, lusty lad, how fresh am I now. Lead me, Inclination, to have my desire, and then at thy request will I ever bend and bow.
He that bendeth to follow his own inclination must needs live a wicked and vile conversation, but so must lust. I will lead you to a place where you shall have pleasure enough in short space.
Ooh. Yea. But shall not this company go thither?
Yes, marry, we 4 will all go together, but Sturdiness shall tarry to the face out the matter, if just peradventure against you shall clatter.
By the mass, and well said, but first let us sing.
Oh, I must tune my pipes first of all by drinking.
What then, I pray thee, help us apart?
Oh, yes, I will sing the treble with all my heart.
Lust shall be led by inclination
To carnal cogitation.
Where lust is wholly led by me, he must fall to cupidity.
For carnal cares shall him assail,
And speedily they shall prevail.
I, Sturdiness, wilt face it out in his cause sturdy, stiff, and stout.
Then greedy gut shall make him eat both house and lands like bread and meat.
Elation shall puff him high, for to aspire above the sky.
and natural and lordly lust shall with his power despise the just.
Our song is ended. Hast thou other in store?
I shall not have done this half hour and more, yet I will now, I remember. Come in, lust, that I go before is but needful and just. You shall be now led by me, Inclination, to reason and talk with carnal cogitation.
Is there more vanity underneath the sun than to be inclined after this sort? Well, lust doth now as others have done. Yea, and do day by day, esteeming it a sport. This lust is the image of all wicked men, which in seeking the world have all delectation. They regard not God, nor his commandments 10. but are wholly led by their own inclination, first to inculcate with carnal cogitation, and after to the desire of all worldly treasure, which alone they esteem the fullness of pleasure. With elation or pride, he's also associate, which puffeth up his senses with presumption pestilent, and greedy gut maketh them continually to grate on the mock of this world, which he thinketh permanent. I, Sturdiness, to hear out all things am bent. Thus see you how men that are led by their lust descend from the virtuous, goodly, and just.
The advice of Aristippus have in your mind, which willed me to seek such things as be permanent, and not such as are of a vanishing kind, for the one with the other is not equivalent. Be circumspect, therefore, foreseeing and sapient, for treasures here gotten are uncertain and vain, but treasures of the mind do continually remain.
This is the mine of Musonus. Also I remember, like as presently you have advertised me, for the which I cannot but thankfully render such commendations as is requisite to be, and as your name is Sapience, thus much I see, that on heavenly wisdom you do depend, and not on as time doth bring to an end.
Truth indeed, and therefore your name being just, with me and my documents must be associate, where contrary such as are led by their lust to incline evil are always appropriate. They have not, as you have, battle and combat against the cogitations that inwardly spring, but rather are obedient unto the same thing, and this is the occasion that men are so ambitious and so foolish, led by the lust of their brain, sometime to covet, sometime to be vicious, sometime the counsel of the wise to disdain, sometime to climb till they fall down again, sometime to usurp the possessions of other, sometime to disobey both father and mother.
Alas, what availeth it riches to enjoy, though as much in comparison as Croesus the king? What helpeth it to have Helen and Troy, if the conscience of man continually sting? Elation and pride no commodity doth bring, but is often known the forerunner of shame, and the blot of immortal memory and fame.
Now, by my halidom, it is Alona. Better sport in my life I never saw. It is trim, I tell you, to dance with John and Joan. Ah, we pass not a point for God nor his law. But lust is lusty and full of porridge, cogitation, and he in one bed doth lie. When here is master just with his cancred courage, what a dog doting Sapience, then am I dressed, I, so often already just hath me restrained, but I dare not entice him any more, for though through Sapience he hath me clearly disdained, that my courage is spent, and I have no more.
Nay, soft sir, we must talk with you ere you go.
I cannot tarry at this time. The truth is so.
Nay, there is no remedy with you. We must talk.
Oh, by the body of me, I hold best that I walk, or else learn to speak language another while, and so I may happen the knaves to beguile.
Turn back ere you go. We have somewhat to say.
Non point parler François, non pas me fait?
To deceive us now himself he doth prepare.
Ich kann geheim English sprechen vorwa? Oh, body of me, let me go, or else I shall piss. Iwis, master just, you have loved me ere this, therefore now be ruled after my counsel, and godly things for your commodity I shall you tell.
Let him that is just not lightly ensue his vile inclination and carnal concupiscence, but let him rather contend the same to subdue, and chiefly those that have knowledge of sapience. Therefore to bridle this lust do your diligence. his crafty provocations utterly to restrain, that just may live while life doth remain.
Goodman Hobel, speak you in earnest? What dost thou say? Shall the just bridle me? No, brother Snaps, do the worst and thy best. I will not be bridled of him nor of thee.
Seeing Sapience consisteth in heavenly document, and that heavenly document consisteth in Sapience, to bridle this wretch I cannot but consent, sith I of his purpose have had oft intelligence.
Yet again, to bridle it doth not prevail. I will not be bridled of the best of you both. See you this gear? Here's one will make you quail, huh? Stand back, to kill you, Master Juster. I would be loath. You have been so burned and fried of late that it were pity to hurt you any more. Back, I say, or my dagger shall about your pate, by the mass. But I will, sir. I'll make your bones sore.
I will bridle thee, beast, for all thy bragging.
In faith, goodman just, I hold ye wagging. Nay, brother, you shall find me a cursed colt to bridle. Nay, in faith, better ye will, I will make thee to struggle.
Never leave him, but ensue the counsel of Sapience.
Lo, now I have brought him under obedience.
Not so obedient as thou thinkest me to have. Nay, brother, you shall find me a cultish knave. It is good for you to hold fast, for I will kick and winch while the life doth last.
Thou shalt kick indeed, but no victory win, neither to conquer the just to ungodliness nor sin.
Oh, yes, I will make a proclamation.
What shall that be?
That if you will give me leave, then you shall see. Oh, yes! Is there any man or woman that have lost a gambling gelding with a grey tail? Let him come to the crier and pay for his cost, and he will tell him tidings without any fail.
To the intent that you may him sharply restrain, let him not enjoy so much of the rain.
Cock-soul, now the snaffle cutteth my lip. I would this lubberly knave at the pip. I shall leap no hedges while this bridle is on. Ouch, alas, I think it will fret me to the bone.
Thus should every man that will be called just bridle and subdue his beastly inclination, that he in the end may obtain perfect trust, the messenger of God, to give sight to salvation.
That trust to obtain with him I have struggled.
Then let us depart and leave this beast bridled.
May the devil go with you and this dun dame. Such horse matters will make a colt quickly tame. I would he were hanged that this snaffle did make. It maketh my chaps so shamefully to ache. Ye have no pity on me, you, I see by your laughing. Oh, I care not greatly if I fall to gambling. Oh, come aloft, I say. Beware the horse heels, I advise you. Stand away. The rein of my bridle is tied so short that I cannot make you any more sport. Though I be bridled now of the just, I doubt not, but I shall be unbridled by lust, and let not just think, but I will rebel. Although he bridle me 10 times all well, though nature saith one doom with a crotch, I will not lie long, but incontinent approach. Even so, though that I be bridled a while, the colt will at length the courser beguile.
Chill run, I, as fast as I can. Sirs, did none of you see a man? Tramsent in haste from my master lust, so that inclination needs come to him must.
Where is he now, I pray thee, tell me?
Why, what have we here? Jesus, benedicite! I hold 20 pounds. It is Balaam's ass. Nay, 'tis a colt, I see his tail by the mast.
Am I a colt? Nay, thou liest like a knave. Somewhat for thy labour now thou shalt have.
Whoo, bald, whoo, lousy jade, must he kick?
Whosoever saw such a desperate dick? Why, greedy gut, dost thou not know inclination?
Body of me, who hath dressed thee of that fashion? Thou art bridled for biting now indeed. Sirrah, Master Lust would have thee make speed.
I am bridled, I, even thou as thou dost see, therefore desire him to come and help me.
Marry, together with greediness now he is bent. He hath had long talk with carnal cogitation, and is set on fire by the means of elation. So that he is so lusty, he cannot abide. Therefore one or other for him must be spied.
Well, greedy gut, I pray thee go and make haste.
Tush, fear not. Chill spend no time in waste.
I had rather than 40 pence that he were come. If I be bridled long, I shall be undone. So sharp is this snaffle called restraint, that it maketh me sweat. I am so faint. Oh, hark! I hear the voice of my master Lust. Now shall I be unbridled shortly, I trust. Can I hear the voice of my master Lust?
La 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 la. Cock's precious wounds, here has been villainy.
Hey, they have used me with too much villainy. That old knave Sapience so counselled just, that let me be unbridled, good master Lust.
Lo, now thou art unbridled, be of good cheer.
By Our Lady, I'm glad I have gotten thus clear. Oh, but hark you, Master Lust, if I may do you pleasure.
She is called Treasure. Oh, my heart is on fire till she come in place.
Oh, Master Lust, she hath an amiable face, a tricker, a trimmer, in faith that she is the goddess of wealth, prosperity, and bliss.
But think you that this minion long endure shall?
For ever and ever, man, she is immortal. There may be many other, but she exceedeth them all.
What be they? Have you their names in store?
Yea, hearken your ear whispers, and many other mo.
Ooh. Ooh. Sith that the apple of Paris before me is cast, and that I may deliver the same where I will. I would Prometheus were here to help me hold fast, that I may have a forewit with me ever sit still. Pallas, I consider, in science hath skill, but Juno and Venus goodwill do I bear. Therefore, to give the apple I know not where.
Be counselled by me, and give it Lady Treasure. It shall be for your commodity in the end without measure. For having the company of this minion lass, you shall never want the society of Pallas. Juno, nor yet the omnipotent Mars, cannot resist your strength, be they never so fierce. And as for Venus, you shall have her at pleasure, for she is brought and sold always with treasure. She of her power hath whole countries conquered, the most noble champions by her hath been murthered. A look on for her sake was stoned to death. Tush, innumerable at this day spend their breath. Some hang or be hanged, they love her so well. She is the great goddess, it is true that I tell.
Which way should I work of her to have a sight?
Aye, inclination will lead you thither right, but we must have greedy gut and also elation.
Oh, they are at the house of carnal cogitation.
Whither I would wish that we might depart, I will lead you thither with all my heart.
So happy is the state of those
That walk.
So happy is the state of those that walk upright and just, that thou, Lord, dost thy face disclose by perfect hope and trust.
Their inclination thou dost stay, and send'st them sapience, that they should serve and eke obey thy high magnificence.
And sendest and sendest content. I can't pronounce my own name.
Contentation.
Contentation, yes. And sendest contentation that we in thee may rest. Therefore all adoration to thee pertaineth best.
God careth for his, as the prophet doth say, and preserveth them under his merciful wings, namely the just that his will do obey, observing his holy commandment in all things, not for our sake or for our deservings, but for his own sake openly to declare that all men on earth ought to live in his fear.
How God hath blessed you, all men may see. For first at your entrance you conquered lust, not by your power, but by might of the deity, as all persons ought to do that be just. Then through Sapience, which God did you send, you bridled that brutish beast Inclination, and also ordered you with Contentation.
Those that are contented with their vocation, be thankful to God. This is true consequent, and those that be thankful in their conversation cannot but please the Lord God omnipotent. And those that be sturdy, proud, and disobedient, the ruler of all rulers will them confound and rot their remembrance from off the ground.
When Solon was asked of Croesus the king, what man was most happy in this vale terrestrial, to the end he seemeth to attribute that thing, when men be associate with treasures celestial, before the end can no man judge, he doth say, that any man is happy that here beareth breath, but then by his end prettily judge we may. Thus true happiness consisteth, saith he, after death. If this be a truth, as undoubtedly it is, what men are more foolish, wretched, and miserable than those that in these treasures accompt their whole bliss? Being infect with ambition, that sickness incurable. Wicked Adrastia, thou goddess deceivable, thus to pluck from men the sense of their mind, so that no contentation therein they can find.
Treasure of this world we may well compare to Circe's the witch with her craftily cautility, wherewith many men's minds so poisoned are that quite they are carried into all fidelity. They are conjured indeed and bewitched so sore that treasure is their trust, joy, and delight. True trust is expelled. They pass not, therefore, and against contentation they continually fight. But though wicked men follow their lust, crying on earth is our felicity and pleasure, yet God doth so guide the hearts of the just that they respect chiefly the celestial treasure.
Alas, should we not have that estimation which God hath prepared for his dear elect? Should not our minds rest in full contentation, having trust in this treasure most high in respect? St. Paul, whom the Lord so high did erect, saith, it passeth the sense of our memory and mind, much less can our outward eyes the same find. And as for treasures which men possess here, through fickleness of fortune soon fadeth away, the greatest of renown and most worthy peer sometime falleth in the end to misery and decay. Record of Dionysius, king of much fame, of the valiant Alexander and Caesar the Strong. Record of Tarquinius, which Superbus had to name, and of Heliogabalus, which that ministered with wrong. If I should recite all, I should stand very long, but these be sufficient plainly to prove how soon by uncertainty this treasure doth remove.
It is true. Therefore, a mind well content is great riches, as the wise King Solomon doth say. We have seen of late days this canker pestilent, corrupting our realm to our great decay. Ambition, I mean, which chiefly did reign among those that should be examples to others. We saw how their brethren they did disdain, and burned with fire the child with the mother. It is often seen that such monsters ambitious as spare not to spill the blood of the innocent will not greatly stick to become seditious. The determination of God thereby to prevent. God grant every one of us earnestly to repent and not to set our minds on this fading treasure, but rather wish and will to do the Lord's pleasure.
O ye emperors, potentates, and princes of renown, learn of just, with trust yourselves to associate, that like as your vocation by right doth us the crown, and also due obedience, being the appointed magistrate, so rule that at the last you may be you resuscitate, and reign with the Almighty with perfect continuance, receiving double crowns for your godly governance. Ye noble men, whom God hath furnished with fame, be mindful to walk in the ways of the just, add virtue evermore to your honourable name, and be not overcome of concupiscence or lust. Flee from love of treasure, catch hold of me, trust, and then double felicity at the last you shall possess. In all earthly doings, God shall give you success. Ye poor men and commons, walk well in your vocation. Banish lust and desire, which is not convenient. Let trust work in you a full contentation, considering that it leadeth to treasures more excellent. For these are uncertain, but they are most permanent. Your necessities supply with virtue and trust, and then shall you enjoy your crown among the just.
As I, being properly nominate just, am here associate with contentation, so have I my whole felicity and trust, who illumineth mine eyes to see my salvation.
Fear ye not, shortly you shall have consolation. If I were once grown in you to perfection, even thus goeth it always with children of election.
I will depart now. Will ye go with me, Trust?
Yea, I must always associate the just.
A psalm of thanksgiving first let us sing to the Lord in praise of the immortal King. Do you want the whole thing, or?
Lust, quoth he. Now, in faith, he is lusty. Lady Treasure and he have made a match. Oh, he thinketh that I were marvellous trusty, because I teach him to claw and to catch. And nowadays amity doth therein consist. He that can flatter shall be well beloved, but he that saith thus and thus saith Christ, shall as an enemy be openly reproved. Friendship, yea, friendship, consisteth now in adulation. Speak fair and please the lust of thy Lord, I warrant thee be had in great estimation, when those that tell truth shall be abhorred. Ah, unhappy lingua, whither wilt thou ren? Take heed, I advise thee, lest thou be shent. If ye chance to tell any tales of these gentle women with flesh hooks and nails, you are like to be rent. Nay, for the passion of me, be not so moved, and I will please you incontinent again. Above all treasures, you are worthy to be loved, because you do no men deride nor disdain. You do not contemn the simple and poor. You be not high-minded, proud, and presumptuous, neither wanton nor wily be you nevermore, but gentle, loving modesty, and virtuous. Behold, how a lie can please some folks' diet, or pacify their minds marvellous well. Oh, psst, I warrant you, so they be in quiet. How please you hereafter now, I can tell. Hark! I hear lust and my lady treasure. They are given to solace, singing, and pleasure.
Amorous lady of beautiful face, thou art heartily welcome into this place. My heart is inclined to thee, lady treasure. My love is insatiate, it keepeth no measure.
It is I, Master Lust, that will you advance. Treasure it is that things doth enhance. Upon me set your whole affection and lust, and pass not a point for the ways of the just. Treasure is a pleasure. Bear that in mind. Both trusty and true, ye shall me always find.
As trusty as a quick eel by the tail. What, lady treasure, welcome without fail. To be better acquainted with you, once I trust, but I dare not in the presence of my Master Lust.
You are welcome, sir, heartily. What? Be of good courage. Drawer, let us have a pint of white wine and borage.
Wherefore, I pray thee tell?
Marry, methink you are not well.
Not well? Who can a better life crave than to possess such a lady as I have? Is there any wealth not contained in treasure? Ah, lady, I love thee in faith out of measure.
It is out of measure indeed, as you say, and even so most men love her at this day. Oh, she is a minion of amorous hue, her peer in my days, yet I never knew. Old, quote you? I am an old knave, I tell ye. Nay, never laugh at the matter, for doubtless I smell ye. She passeth Juno, Ceres, and Pallas, more beautiful than ever Dame Venus was. Old Thea in sapience she doth exceed, and Diana in dignity, of whom we do read. What should fair Helen once named be? She excelleth all these, Master Lust, believe me.
How say you? Is this not an eloquent lad?
That you have such a servant, truly I am glad.
Now indeed I can you not blame, for women of all degrees are glad of the same. They that flatter and speak them fair shall be their sons, and peradventure their heir.
You told me of a brother you had, Lady Treasure.
Yea, sir, that I have. His name is called Pleasure. And seeing you enjoy me now at your will, right soon, I am sure, he will come you until.
Truly, of him I would fain have a sight. For because that in pleasure I have marvellous delight.
Then honesty and profit you may bid good night.
What sayst thou?
Oh, I say he will shortly appear in sight. I know by his singing the same is he. The misbegotten Orpheus, I think that he be.
O happy days and pleasant place, wherein I do delight, I do pretend, till my life's end, to live still in such plight.
Ah, Master Pleasure, I perceive you be of good cheer.
What? Inclination, old lad, art thou here?
Yea, sir, and Lady Treasure, your sister, also.
Body of me! Then unto her I will go. What, sister, I am glad to meet with you here.
Welcome unto me, mine own brother dear. Master Lust, this is my brother, of whom I told. He is pleasant and lusty, as you may behold.
Ooh, gentlemen, I pray you, is your name Master Pleasure?
Yea, sir, and I am brother to Lady Treasure.
And are you contented to accompany me?
Whereas she is resident, I must needs be. Treasure doth pleasure commonly proceed, but the one is with the other. They have both so decreed.
Marry, now you are very well indeed, Master Lust. This is better, I trow, than the life of the just. They be compelled to possess contentation, having no treasure but trust of salvation. But my lady or mistress, my mistress, I would say, she worketh, you may see, to keep you from decay.
Oh, madam, in you is all my delight, and in your brother Pleasure, both day and night. The trial of Treasure this is indeed. I perceive that she is a true friend at need. For I have proved her, according as Thales doth say, and I perceive that her beauty cannot decay.
Always with you I will be resident, so that your life shall be most excellent.
Yea, sir, and may pleasure also you shall have, so that none other thing there needeth to crave. I will replenish your heart with delight, and I will be always with treasure in sight. But if you desire to enjoy me at your will, my sister you must have in reputation still. And then, as her treasure is certain and excellent, my pleasure shall be both perfect and permanent. Credit not those, sir, that talk that and this, saying that in two consisteth no bliss. But let experience your mind ever move, and see if all men us too do not love.
Love, yes, they love you indeed, without a doubt, which shutteth some of them from God's kingdom without. They love you so well that their God they do hate, as time hath declared to us even of late. But he that on such things his study doth cast shall be sure to be deceived at the last.
What dost thou say?
Oh, of treasure, forsooth, ye must ever hold fast, for if you should chance to lose Lady Treasure, then farewell in post this gentleman Pleasure.
My love to the both cannot be expressed, and especially my lady, you I love best.
If you love me, as you do profess, be sure you shall want no kind of wealthness.
And if you have wealthiness at your own will, then will I pleasure remain with you still.
Ah, you are both as constant as snow in the sun, from snow to water, through melting doth run. But worldly wise men cannot conceive that. To hunt for such mice they learn of the cat.
My lady is amorous and full of favour.
I may say to you she hath an ill-favoured savour.
What sayst thou?
I say she is loving and of gentle behaviour.
And so I will continue still, be you sure.
And I in the like case, while your life doth endure.
Oh, trusty treasure! Oh, pleasant pleasure! All wealth I possess now without measure, and seeing that the same shall firmly remain, to help me sing a song, will you take the pain?
Even with all my heart. Begin when you will.
Oh, to it, and I will either help or stand still. Ah.
Am I not in blessed case treasure and pleasure to possess? I would not wish no better place if I may still have wealthiness, and to enjoy in perfect peace my lady. My pleasant pleasure shall increase, my dear lady. Helen may not compare it be, nor Cressida that was so bright. These cannot stain the shine of thee, nor yet Minerva of great might. Thou passest Venus far away, lady. Love thee I will both night and day, my dear lady. My mouse, my nubs and cunny sweet, my hope and joy, my whole delight. Dame Nature may fall at thy feet, and may yield to thee her crown of right. I will thy body now embrace, lady, and kiss thy sweet and pleasant face, my dear lady.
I am God's minister, called Visitation, which diverse in many ways you may understand. Sometime I bring sickness, sometime perturbation, sometime trouble and misery throughout the land. Sometime I signify God's wrath to be at hand, sometime a forerunner of destruction. But an executor of pain I am at present. Thou incipient fool, that hast followed thy lust, disdaining the doctrine declared by Sapience, in treasure and pleasure had been thy trust, which thou thoughtest should ever remain in thy presence. Thou never rememberest Thales in his sentence, who willeth men in all things to keep a measure, especially in love, to uncertainty of treasure. Even now I'm come from visiting the just, because God beginneth first with his elect, but he is so associated and comforted with trust, that no kind of impatience his soul can infect. Contentation in such sort his race doth direct, that he is contented with God's operation, comfortably embracing me, his visitation. But now I am come to vex thee with pain, which makest treasure thy castle and rock. Thou know that both she and pleasure is vain, and that the Almighty thou canst not mock. With pain and anguish and grief into thee I do cast, with pain in thy members continually. Now thou hast pain, thy pleasure cannot last, but I will expel him incontinently.
Oh, Gog's heart, what a pestilence is this! Depart from me, I say, hence, God's visitation! Help! Help! Lady treasure, thou goddess of bliss, at thy hands let me have some consolation.
I will remain with you, be out of doubt.
Will you be packing, you ill-favoured lout?
Presently, indeed, from him thou shalt not go. And why? Because God's will hath not determined so. But in time thou, treasure, shall be turned to rust. And as for pleasure, he shall now attend on the just.
Ah, Gog's wounds, these pangs increase evermore.
Oh, and my little finger is spitefully sore. Oh, you will not believe how my heel doth ache.
Nay, let me alone, your part I will take. Be of good comfort while I here remain. For pleasure and he shall be parted in twain.
It is not meet that he should be participate with lust, but rather virtuous, godly, and just.
Oh, remain with me still, master pleasure, I say.
Nay, there is no remedy, I must away. For where God doth punition and pain, my pleasure in no case cannot remain.
Oh,
In like case, separate thy treasure, but God admonish thee by losing thy pleasure.
Well, farewell in the devil's name, old lousy lout, that my master will die. I stand in great doubt. How is it with you, Master Lust?
by the flesh of Goliath, yet treasure is my trust. Though pleasure be gone and I live in pain, I doubt not but treasure will fetch him again.
Yea, that I will, fear not, and with you remain.
Oh, the property of rich men undoubtedly he hath, which think with money to pacify God's wrath, and health at their pleasure to buy and to sell. How is Master Last? Are you anything well?
Against this visitation my heart doth rebel. God's wounds shall I still in these pangs remain?
Fear you not, Master Lust, I will help you again. Treasure in physic exceedeth Galenus. Tush, there is no physician, but we shall have with us. To the ease of your body they will you bring, and therefore I pray you despair in no thing. Put your trust always in me, Lady Treasure, and I will restore you again unto pleasure. For I am the goddess that therein hath power, which shall remain perfect unto the last hour.
Yea, yea, Master Lust, be as merry as you may, let treasure be your trust, whoever say nay.
The ancient Greeks have called me Kronos, which in our vulgar tongue signifieth time. I am entered presently for a certain purpose, even to turn treasure to rust and to slime. And lust, which hath long disdained the just, ensuing his filthy and vile inclination, shall immediately be turned to dust, to the example of the whole congregation. For time bringeth both these matters to pass, as experience hath taught in every age, and you shall behold the same in this glass, as a document both profitable and sage. Both lust and treasure come forth with speed into the shop of the most mighty God. There shall you be beaten to powder indeed, and for your ablution feel his scourge and rod.
By Saint Mary, then they have made a wise match. I pretend, therefore, to leap over the hatch. Nay, let me depart, sirs. Stop me not, I say, for I must remain, though both these decay.
Lust from the beginning frequented hath been, and shall I now turn to nothing for thee?
Treasure in all ages hath been beloved, and shall she from the earth by thee be removed?
Hidden speech prefix for time there.
Apologies. Wait, where? Sorry.
It's hidden, so it's 2 lines into treasures, and then
yes.
it's you know.
Yeah, okay. You know that all such things are subject to time. Therefore, me to withstand is no reason nor rhyme. For like as all things in time their beginning had, so must all things in time vanish and fade.
God's wounds, let treasure remain still with me.
Hey, let me continue still in my dignity.
Nay, I must carry you into Vulcan's fire. where you shall be tried unto the uttermost. Seeing lust against trust did daily conspire, to dust he shall turn for all his great boast. Both of you shall have one rigorous host. Come therefore with speed, time cannot tarry, to the end of your felicity I will you carry.
If there be no remedy, then there is no shift.
He must needs go that is driven by the devil's drift. Ah, cock's precious sides, what fortune is this? Whither go I now, to misery or to bliss?
Where the horse heels, I say? Oh, I would the rein were loose that I might run away.
Ace, if thou wilt not spare against me to rebel, I will not spare by God's grace thee to bridle. All men may see how vile inclination spareth not to put the just to vexation. Even so may all men learn of me again, thy beastly desires to bridle and restrain.
Marry, sir, I am bridled indeed, as you say, and shackled, I think, for running away. This snapple is sharp indeed for the nonce, and these shackles do chafe my legs to the bones, and yet will I provoke, spurn and prick, rebel, repugn, lash out and kick.
Jade's name, how are you so fresh? This gear, I suppose, will pluck down your flesh. Nay, soft, thou shalt have a little more pain, for somewhat shorter now I will tie thy rein.
Most blessed and happy, I say, are the just, even because they restrain their own inclination. Thou, therefore, that hast made thy treasure of trust, behold, I have brought thee here consolation.
Now, blessed be of God, of his mercy and grace, with all my heart and soul I do you embrace.
Consolation is my name, even as trust hath said, which is joy and comfort in this life transitory. He that possesseth me is of nothing afraid, but hath a most quiet and peaceable memory. For I, through trust, doth show thee the glory that God hath prepared for them beforehand, wherein at the last they shall perfectly stand.
Receive this crown of felicity now at this space, which shall be made richer at the celestial place.
By a lady, I would I had such a gay crown.
Now praised be God for this riches of renown. Felicity in this world the just doth enjoy.
Namely, when the devil can them not annoy.
The Lord's work this is, who be praised forever, who grant us in his laws still to persevere.
Amen, amen. God give us delight in his holy covenant, both day and night.
Our matter is almost brought to an end, saving that inclination in prison must be shut. Just carry him forth that useth to contend, and see that surely enough he be put.
That shall be done shortly by God's grace.
What soft, I say, methink if ye go a shameful pace. Was there ever poor colt thus handled before? Fire upon it, my legs be unreasonably sore. Yet will I rebel, yea, and rebel again, and though 1,000 times thou shouldst me restrain.
Behold, here, how lust is converted into dust. This is his image, his wealth and prosperity, and treasure in like is turned to rust. Whereof this example showeth the verity. The trial of treasure this is, no doubt. Let all men take heed that trust in the same, considering what things time bring about, and quench out the ungodly, their memory and fame.
Why, And is lust and treasure converted to this?
Yea, forsooth.
What foolish man in them would put trust, if this be the final end of their bliss? Much better I commend the life of the just.
So it is, no doubt, for they have consolation, possessing felicity even in this place, I mean, through trust, and hope of salvation, which setteth out to us God's mercy and grace.
Let all men consider this good erudition, and not to put confidence in lust nor treasure. By these two examples receive admonition, and also of the sudden banishment of pleasure.
Remember that time turneth things all about. Time is the touchstone the just for to try. But whereas lust and treasure in time is come to naught, just possessing trust remaineth constantly. So have I showed the consolation and gain that the just shall receive, that justly do reign.
We will now no longer trouble this audience, sith somewhat tedious to you we have been, beseeching you to bear all things with patience, and remember the examples that you have seen. God grant them to flourish lively and green, that some of us the better therefore may be. Amen, amen, I beseech the blessed Trinity. Take heed in time, and note this well. Be ruled always by counsel. Learn of the just to lead thy life, being free from envy, wrath, and strife, presumption, pride, and covetousness, with all other ungodliness. Learn of them always to obey the Lord's precepts from day to day, that thou mayst walk as he doth will, and labor thy fond affects to kill. Always subdue thy beastly lust, and in the Lord put hope and trust. Bridle thine inclination by godly conversation. The counsel of the wise embrace, the fool's advice do then deface, which fast and pray with good delight, that Adam may be killed quite. That joy in us may still increase, that God the Lord may give us peace, that we may be content with trust, to have our crown among the just.
And thus ends the text.
Nice, Horsey.
Yeah. Well, that brought up so many questions and thoughts, because it's such a weird play. It's got some really great bits to it. I mean, the action of the bridling and all of that stuff is just fascinating. All the, I mean, as ever, it's always that interesting challenge for what do you do when every so often someone delivers a sermon, and how do you structurally work with that? But then it's just so dark at the end. Time just turns up and says, here's all your treasure. It has turned to rust. And the fact that lust is just put through unbearable torture and pain, and inclination is just standing there going, I think I can fit. Oh, it's a terrible twinge. Oh, me leg. Yeah.
Yeah. This is. Sorry, I talked over people.
No, it's all right. Go for it.
I find this play quite amazing because it's very much about vice and virtue, but it's almost not at all biblical. I think. Rachael, you were saying? Yeah. That there's very little like Bible-y, commandment-y stuff in there. There's lots of talk about sins. But at the end, this is more science fiction justice than biblical justice. Lust doesn't die and go to hell. He gets pulverized into dust because, dust we are, unto dust thou shalt return. lust is of the flesh, all flesh is dust. And, and poor old Treasure, who just wanted to get married, and Treasure stuck by lust. Like, if we see this anthropomorphic personification as a person, like, she didn't leave. She
No.
stood by him.
And it's this weirdness of the way all these anthropomorphic personifications are thrown together, all these allegorical figures, because it's not like there's a sort of central everyman figure who these things are appealing to. So at the end, it's this thing of stay with me, and it's lust is saying, help me. And, it's the weird relationship that Inclination has in regards to lust and everybody else. And then just it's just so weird. And you sort of, this is that sort of late morality play flourish where it's doing, it can't do the everyman because everybody's done it. It's been done for the last 100 years or more. So you're trying to do moral things using allegorical figures, but it's just gone a bit weird. And it's really interesting. I mean, it's so fascinating because it's it sort of works in a weird way. It's sort of compelling most of the time. And it's like, the author knows that there's only so much moralizing you can throw at people, and it's, the prologue and the epilogue sort of say, the prologue seems to say that of basically, well, some of this might be a bit boring, but don't worry, something interesting will come along in a minute. And it's like we have to pay for the sermonizing that occasionally happens with someone being bridled and pretending to be a horse. Which, it's sort of honest and quite refreshing in that way. I quite like that. Other thoughts, Eric?
I was going to say the whole bridling scene just made me think of Like Will to Like, that intro where you've got the devil and Newfangle sort of doing the whole like, Godfather, how are you doing? kind of thing.
Yeah, well, they're very close in terms of time. These are late 1560s plays. So they're the same universe, and maybe even the same players in some cases. This is by William Wager, pronunciations vary depending on my mood. He wrote 3 plays we have that are extant, and they are all really interesting in the same way as this one's really interesting. I'm not expecting to, dominate the West End with any of these anytime soon. But they are still quite fascinating, and I'm really quite interested in what happens next time. I'm slightly dismayed that I'm now playing... I'm going to have to sort out a bridal that I'm now playing. It's not a very balanced casting. It felt like some people really drew the short straw with so few players. I felt like some people had significantly less to do than others. Was that just my imagination, or that's how it seemed to people?
I don't know, really. I'm not sure. I mean, it seemed to work in terms of people not being on stage with themselves. So maybe that is just how it works. But I agree. I think it is a fascinating play, and I'm just not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how one would do it nowadays, but I was really fascinated by the character that you played, Rob. Brilliantly done with the bridal and all that prop improvisation, fantastic. But I found it really interesting about how towards the sort of, I don't know, latter third or quarter of the play, the Vice really does seems to know what's going on, and is set, all these asides where he's going, oh, well, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. It's sort of like he's dropped his Vice quality and has become more of the, the commentator, not the everyman, but he's commenting on what's going on. Really very, very interesting, I thought. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's the weird... It's that speech that Inclination makes before the introduction of Lady Treasure that I've no idea what that speech is doing. I know some of the things he's saying, but I don't know what that speech is doing as an overall thing of what's going on there. I don't quite know how that speech functioned. I was sort of playing around with different approaches, and I still don't really know what it's doing. But it's like, we have this, it's only in the last sort of third of the play that, the trial of treasure happens. And even then, I was not really entirely sure what the trial was that treasure exactly underwent. I mean, it's one of those things of going, I'm not quite sure the title works.
Well, when they say gold is tried, I think they put it in a heat source and they try to melt it, because the melting point of gold is higher than the melting point of some other metals that it might be adulterated with. So to try someone and to find them true gold, I think it might mean that just being tested, rather than, I mean, when we read the title, The Trial of Treasure, we think of a courtroom trial. But I think this is trial in the sense of testing. And weirdly enough, treasure passes the first trial. Like I said, treasure doesn't abandon lust. But treasure, the trial of time and such like things, treasure does not pass. She crumbles to rust. Alas, alas.
Which, if you were gold, wouldn't make any sense, because it doesn't oxidize.
Yeah, so she's not true gold in that case.
Not true gold. Not true gold. So yeah, I with all of these sort of this kind of morality play, it's the programming of it. If it's a live thing, is inevitably going to go with, some kind of context. With this kind of show, which could happily fit in half a show, you could do the other half is to set up what you're about to watch. And then, of course, you record it and you pull it out online and let people deal with that. So in that sense, it's much easier than, bigger, longer plays. Moral interludes like this are actually, in a sense, easy to do, because you just do them. And then you deliver some context for why you've done them, and to talk about history and stuff. That I'd say I really want to get on top of Wager. There are 2 more complete texts that I really want to get into, which we may get into over the next few months, rest of the year.
It would be interesting to look at other things by the same writer, and particularly I thought so much of it was so interestingly written and well written. Would be good.
Even though it's deceptively simple, actually, it's lots of rhyming, relatively simple, but actually very effective stuff going on there. Sometimes one is looking for too much flamboyance from people's verse, and sometimes, just get on with it. Is good. Any other thoughts before we go into admin? When are we returning to this text kind of discussions? I have to say time. I liked time. Time's cool. Time's like death, because time sort of is death, because time destroys everything. So, you can't write bad dialogue for time. I think I'm going to extend the you can't write bad dialogue for death to time as well. Yeah, Eric.
I was just going to say that, like, the whole contentation, visitation time thing, it just feels like an escalation. So, like, you can go from, like, it's because obviously in the doubling it's also the same actor, and it's like very much like, yes, contentation is what we are aiming for, and then it goes on to visitation, which is like the wrath of God, which I didn't really portray very well because I didn't read properly, and then time, which is just like death.
Yeah, it is interesting. There is a sense sometimes that the play is slightly stretching at the number of actors it's got. That it would quite like to develop some themes, but they just don't have the numbers to play around with. And then you get these odd characters like Greedy Gut, of which is doing all sorts of strange things. And the questions, there's quite a few questions about that sequence, and some of the violence as well, making sure the fight between lust and just needs to be, epic, if we can make it so. Rachael.
Greedy Gut, when he came in and when he has that, accent, I wonder if it's an accent or if it's supposed to be like written like he's speaking with his mouth full.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
Yeah, I think it is an accent, because he seems to be mocking him for the accent. But you're right, it could just be a food thing, couldn't it? That he's just constantly eating. I think that might be a way to do it. I actually think that might be a better performance decision than trying to go for an accent that it's tricky.
To rock a rhyme that's right on time?
Because it's not consistent, is it? No. Sometimes it just speaks perfectly normally. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's face full of food.
Yeah. I do like Greedy Gut. I remember he reminds me a lot of Hans from Like Will to Like.
Everybody drinks.
I also notice in this one there's a lot of bits of text that remind me of Dr. Faustus. So I sort of wonder if Marlowe read this or saw this, maybe when he was growing up or at college.
It's it's not physically impossible. I mean, he's a wee bairn at the time of its original performances, but it is printed. That's the thing about it. Wager seems to have a deal that he produces a play a year and it gets printed every year.
It's true, and schoolmasters did perform these plays with their pupils. It's not outside the bounds of possibility that someone like Marlowe might have had to be in this play at school or see it.
It's part of the lexicon. I think there's a lot of this kind of stuff would have been about, so people would recognise it. And it's an extension of other morality tropes as well that Marlowe is absolutely digging into with Faustus. He's very aware of morality traditions. Okay, I am going to close the official part of the session. Thank you very much, everyone, for their wonderful reading. Some of us had more prep than others. Like I had, I realised I was going to be reading the part. As we went on, I pressed record. So there was a lot of prep going on there. Hopefully next time.
Work though.
Next time, hopefully it will be much more detailed. Ta-ta, everyone. Thank you very much, and goodbye.